back. So, by now, I'm assuming everybody's seen the season finale of The Mandalorian, right? Right? I'm hoping so because I'm going to go through a lot of spoilers. You had 2 weeks. Come on, you had 2 weeks. And there's going to be spoilers ahead, so get ready. Welcome to the newest episode of SDW.
Super Dario World!
Alright, and I'm back. So, feels good to be back, man. I gotta tell you. feels weird. I took a couple weeks off, mainly because I did a few doubles for the past few weeks. A coworker had a family incident that required me to do a couple of cover extra shifts in one of my jobs, and so in the weekends I was in Mexico with my pups. So I just said, you know what, screw it. Everybody else is taking a week off. I'm taking a week off. Why not? But I'm back. Feels good to be back. It took me a minute to get back into the rhythm of things. It's weird. Once you stop, it's really hard to get back to things. It's like working out. It's like, you take a week off and you don't, well, you take a day off and you end up taking a week off and then it turns into a month. So, gotta put a stop to it. Feels, good back. Feels good to be back and everything. But before we get into, the breakdown of the episode, let me just give you a quick reminder that any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can find me at Dario the Show on Instagram and at Super Dario period world. So I kind of just messed that up because it's not Super Dario period world anymore. It's Super Dario world. Also live streaming on YouTube and on Twitch at Super Dario world. If you want to check out this video afterwards, it will be loaded on YouTube when it's by tomorrow morning, hopefully. That's at Super Dario world. It helps people, with the visuals and stuff, especially because I will be breaking down the episode part by part. I kind of went a little bit overboard on this one. I'm not gonna lie, so it may be a long one. I'm hoping it's not. I'll try to keep it short, but yeah, you can find the video there if you want. Also, like, subscribe, everything like that. It really helps out. So let's get into it. Let's begin season finale of The Mandalorian. This episode, let me just make this a little bit bigger here for you guys. There you go. So this episode is chapter 16, season 2 finale, and it's called The Rescue. Now, if you've been following along the season, you've followed my breakdowns, you kind of know that this is the episode. The way that this episode starts out is that Moff Gideon has kidnapped Baby Yoda, whose real name is Grogu, which is really weird, but whatever. And so now Mando will be trying to get him back. He now has the information of where Moff Gideon's ship is, and he will try to rescue him. So, before we get into it, let me just give you a quick, just a quick reminder of what character you might not remember. This is his first time appearing, I believe, in person. So, I mean, we did get like a little, not CGI thing. Well, it was CGI, but we had got like a little digital message. But now is the first time he's actually appearing. Dr. Pershing. For those of you who don't remember who Dr. Pershing is, he is one of the scientists who works for the Empire. He is basically the guy who one of the guys who wanted Mando to capture Grogu, and he wanted to study him. And according to Dr. Pershing, he's the reason why Grogu wasn't killed when he was first captured. So there you go. That's who he is. Let's break down the episode. So let me just switch things up here a little bit. There we go. So chapter 16, The Rescue. The episode begins with Slave One chasing down an Imperial cruiser. Well, not a cruiser, it's an Imperial transporter. And this transporter happens to be transporting one Dr. Pershing, who we just talked about. So basically, the Slave One has him overpowered, and they end up taking the ship. So in order to not be captured, the pilot basically takes Dr. Pershing hostage because he's like, this is a very important person. I'll kill him. And the other pilot is like, I'm not with this fucking guy. I don't want anything to do with this. And so Pilot 1 ends up, not appreciating that. And so he ends up shooting Pilot 2. Which, honestly, this conversation is really weird because then what follows is Pilot 1 basically trying to piss off Cara Dune the entire time. Like, he actually is trying to piss her off, talking about Alderaan and how he's happy that they killed all those terrorists. And then he mentions something that has been mentioned in the Star Wars universe a lot, but it hasn't really been explored. And that he talks about all the people who died in the Death Star, like the millions of people who died in the Death Star. I don't know if there's millions of people in the Death Star, but I mean, it is true. They killed, at least in the first Death Star, was probably all military personnel. The second one, they probably had a whole bunch of contractors that got killed, and that's, it's fair. I mean, it's fair. But basically, he's trying to compare, like, oh yeah, I'm glad that we killed those terrorists, and like, dude, the reason why all those terrorists existed is because you kind of destroyed their planet, but whatever. Anyway, so this guy's basically trying to piss her off, and Cara Dune just basically blows his face off. So honestly, I don't understand what this guy's plan was. I understand the other pilot guy, that guy, the guy who got shot. He's like, you know what? I just don't want to die. So if the other guy would have just agreed with that and then afterwards, shot him in the back or something, maybe. I don't know. The point is, odd strategy. It was a bold move, Cotton. Didn't really work out. Next, we see the Slave One landing on a random planet, and Mando and Boba Fett walk into a bar, and in this bar they find one Bo-Katan and her sidekick. I'm calling her that specific. I know she has a name, but I'm calling her that specifically, and that's because of an odd conversation that happens in this particular thing. And so basically, Mando's like, "Hey, I lost a child. I need your help getting it back." And this whole conversation, honestly, is very weird and makes no sense because it's written very poorly. And I mean beyond terribly poorly, because Mando has enough information to get Bo-Katan to do exactly what he wants. What Bo-Katan wants is she wants to find Moff Gideon, and she wants to get weapons to reclaim her planet. And so Mando knows where Moff Gideon is, one, and two, Moff Gideon is in a cruiser. So if they take Moff Gideon, which is who he wants the most, they would be taking his cruiser too. So he has two things that Bo-Katan really wants, but he doesn't lead with that. He leads with they took the child, which puts him in a very weird negotiating position. Or maybe he's trying to, I don't know, see if he can get a little bit of sympathy out of her instead of having to give her something that she actually wants. So the conversation is really weird. And also the sidekicks kind of get into it a little bit because, well, sidekick one here calls Boba Fett a sidekick, and Boba Fett says, well, isn't that basically says the pod calling the kettle black. It's really weird. And then there's an odd conversation about Boba Fett being a clone and not being a real Mandalorian, and that leads to a fight between the sidekicks. It's really weird. Honestly, like I said, this thing was terribly written. But ultimately, Bo-Katan ends up agreeing because she had every reason to say yes. And Bo-Katan also wants to make clear that Moff Gideon has a weapon that she wants, and that's the Darksaber. And again, that's also a very weird conversation because they explain it in the worst way possible. Like, I would have had a little bit of fun with that conversation. Basically, let me see if I remember how she said it. She's like, no, Moff Gideon has a weapon of mine, the Darksaber, and it's a weapon that can cut to everything. And then the sidekick says almost everything. Bo-Katan is like, yes, it can't cut through pure Beskar. And so, which is something that we already knew. If you've been watching the show, you know that lightsabers can't cut through Beskar because we saw it. We saw the episode where Ahsoka Tano fights Mando, and then afterwards she fights the sheriff there. I don't remember her name, but she uses a spear there that's made out of pure Beskar, and she doesn't cut through either of them with a lightsaber. So we know this. The audience knows this. So you could have actually had a little bit of fun there with the conversation. Like, it could have been like, it has a weapon that cuts through everything, and Mando could have been like I don't know, like, is it similar to the weapon the Jedi wields? And Bo-Katan was like, oh, so I see that Ahsoka gave you something. Like, I don't know. Ahsoka gave you a demonstration. It's like, I got like I don't know. I'm not saying right. I had it in my head the way that I could have seen it, but they could have played around with mentioning, throwing Ahsoka out there, throwing like that Mando actually had a fight with Beskar, and he actually knows it. So I should have written it down because I could hear it perfectly in my mind. Right now, I blanked out, but whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is, it was a weird conversation that could have been done better. Next, they basically agree, and Mando wants to make one thing clear, and one thing only, that the only thing that he cares about is the kid, which, I don't know, I guess it wasn't obvious up to this point, Like, nobody noticed this before. Anyway, so they start making out a plan of what the cruiser has, what they're going to do, and they plan out a strategy. And basically, the big issue here is the Dark Troopers. So the Dark Troopers are on the ship, and they have to find a way to basically get them out of the equation, because if the Dark Troopers are activated, they're screwed. It's basically walking droid tanks, and they're screwed. And so what they decided is like, all right, so we're gonna have two. We're going to infiltrate this thing. We're gonna make it look like we're being attacked by. Well, we're taking the transporter, and we're gonna make it look like we're being attacked by Slave One. That way, we'll make an emergency landing in there. Then the four girls will rush in, and afterwards, Mando will sneak in, and he will go. The girls will go for the command center. Well, Mando goes for the Dark Troopers, and then goes after Baby Yoda. So there you go. That's how it happens. And the advantage that they have here is that the Dark Troopers, they take a few minutes to boot up. You know how you turn on your computer, it takes a few minutes for it to boot up because they're not turned on the whole time, because apparently it would be expensive. So that's why they're doing that. Anyway, but while they're doing that, Bo-Katan wants to make one thing very clear, and that's that Moff Gideon is hers. All right? You know when somebody says something so many times, you're like, yeah, this is not going to work out? Meh. Spoiler alert. It's not going to work out. Anyway, so they initiate their like faux attack, and they... Honestly, this thing is ridiculous, so I'll just say that the plan kind of works, and they managed to sneak into the base and emergency landing, and they come out guns blazing, shooting everybody to hell. And so you got the four girls coming in and just ripping everybody to shreds. And at this point, the Dark Troopers, they start to get booted up. So the clock is running. Next, we see Mando, who walks in afterwards, after everybody's dead, and he starts going in his own direction, starting to sneak around. And here things get a little weird I complain about this a lot. I know I complain about this a lot, but it really bugs me. Here you have a formation that makes a little bit of sense. You got the two Mandalorians up front. The Mandalorians have Mandalorian armor, which is made of Beskar. So you got the two armored chicks up front. A thing that was weird is if you see, let me see, Cara Dune here, she's got a blaster and she's got another bigger weapon. Why she didn't come out with a rifle, I have no idea. And Finnick, she's coming out with a blaster. Now, she's a sniper. Why she's not coming out with some kind of rifle, I have no idea. But whatever. And honestly, whatever. It doesn't matter. So you got the two armored people out front, which makes sense. You know, if you get attacked by the front, you want somebody who can take a hit. And so as they get attacked by the front, what happens with what do the two armored people do? They jump the fuck out of the way, leaving the other two not armored people completely exposed. Fortunately, stormtroopers can't hit shit, and so they end up just getting killed. Afterwards, and so, like I said, if you can see here, Bo-Katan and her sidekick, they just jump off to the side, and they're no longer part in this particular fight. Then, Cara Dune and Finnick, they get attacked from behind, and that's when Bo-Katan and the sidekick come up from the sides and, take out the other guys from the sides. So, it was planned, you guys. They knew that they were going to be attacked from both sides. Now, why did these guys not try to shoot these two girls beforehand? I don't know. I mean, let's say they wanted to capture them alive. We know that these dudes have blasters that have stun. You know why? Because in the very first Star Wars movie, we saw them do that to Leia. And you know when we also saw them do it? We saw them do that to Baby Yoda. Well, to Grogu, just a few episodes before. But I guess, whatever, man. Honestly, whatever. At this point, it's just the Empire's just stupid. The stormtroopers are stupid. Anyway. And from that point on, it's Cara Dune and Finnick. They're up in the front while the other two cover the rear. Now, I guess it makes sense to have one armored person in the back. I just don't understand why there's not another armored person in the front. It gives you a natural shield. And one of these two chicks is a sniper. Like, you'd want her in the back. So while the person in the front is drawing the fire, the other person in the back, the sharpshooter, is taking them out in the distance. They don't even notice her. But, whatever. It's fine. It looked cool. The fighting was cool. Whatever. Then now, finally, Cara Dune decides to use her rifle, and this is when the Dark Troopers are officially activated, right? So, in the middle of the fighting, the big rifle that Cara Dune's using, for some reason, malfunctions. It gets jammed. Now, this thing doesn't really have bullets, so how it gets jammed, I don't know, but whatever gets jammed. And look at her. She goes she goes down into the side and takes cover with a wall. Well, leans against the wall to give her a little bit of cover. You can see there's kind of a little bit. Here's the issue, though. The stormtroopers are, like, right there, right in front of her. In fact, let me show you the next shot here. This dude is, like, a foot away from her, like 1 or 2 feet away from Cara Dune, and they aren't shooting at her. The chick is just basically there in the corner. Now, she made a smaller target for sure, but she's right there exposed. She has really no fucking cover. Like, the only cover it would be a little bit behind, but nothing. She should be dead. She should be dead, but whatever. But, you know, like I said, stormtroopers suck. They don't do anything. Next, Cara Dune decides, you know what? I can't shoot the gun, so I'm just going to hit you with it, which is totally a smart idea to run in the middle of a gunfight to start hitting people in the middle and moving wildly around while the other people don't whatever. You know what? Doesn't matter. Like I said, it doesn't matter anymore. Then Mando reaches where the Dark Troopers are starting to get out, and he's like, "Oh shit, the Dark Troopers are trying to get out." So he goes to close the door. Unfortunately, it's a little bit too late. One of the Dark Troopers manages to get out of the specific room where he was trying to lock them in, and he starts beating the living shit out of him, and I mean beating him hard. It's actually pretty impressive. Like, honestly, well, first off, you get to learn exactly how strong Beskar is, because this thing is just wailing at the helmet of Mando, and the helmet's not breaking. It's not even caving in. What's happening is that the ship behind him is breaking, which is very impressive. Now, the most impressive thing here is that the glass from the helmet is not breaking. I mean, I guess you can turn Beskar into glass too. I don't know, but it looked interesting, man. Next, we learned that, first off, blasters don't even tickle the guy. He used a flamethrower on him. It just made him mad. He used the I believe it's the songbirds. I don't even remember what the name of the thing is. That weapon actually did have a little bit of an effect because it's made out of Beskar. Not as much as he would have liked. And so finally, Mando uses his final option to try to take out that guy, and he uses the Beskar spear that he acquired, in an earlier episode. So there you go. It turns out Beskar destroys the Beskar spear can take down the Dark Troopers. Yay. Good to know, right? Good to fucking know. So then Mando goes and presses a button, and that opens up the door up to space, and the space vacuum sucks out the rest of the Dark Troopers, effectively neutralizing them as a threat. Let's continue. The girls, in the meantime, continue on their little rampage, and again, I understand having the big gun up front. I totally get it. You want the tank, you want the minigun up front, totally get it. But why are the armored people in the back? Why? Why is Finnick up front? It makes no sense. Whatever. I'm just gonna let that go. Because, honestly, it doesn't even matter, because this is where that part of the episode ends. So whatever. So they end up taking the command center and just blasting everybody. Which the command center doors completely opened, and these dudes were kind of taken by surprise. Like, you didn't know that your ship was under attack? Seriously? You didn't see that the ship was under attack? No alarms going off. Nothing. And you left the door open to the command center. Kind of stupid if you ask me, but whatever. It's the Empire. It's clear that they're a bunch of retards. Anyway, moving on. Cara Dune is upset because she noticed that one Moff Gideon is not in the command center, and that really pisses her off. Next, we see this dumbass and his friend, the other dumbass. There's two stormtroopers guarding what we're assuming is the prisoner cell, or like the prisoner or the holding area. And these two idiots Mando sneaks up on both of them. Now, afterwards, I'll show you an image of this hallway, because we actually get to see this hallway. But these dudes are just out there. I don't know. In Spanish, we have an expression that basically says "comiendo verga." It's like it's when you say that somebody's not paying attention. Basically, they're just eating dick. And so I don't understand how somebody can sneak up on you. Like, you should know that your ship is under attack. You should know it. You know what you do when your ship's under attack? You should be on alert. And if it's a fucking hallway, you have one guy looking out one way, and then you're looking out the other. That way you don't get somebody with a fucking spear doesn't sneak up on you. But whatever. Like I said, bunch of fucking idiots. And so naturally, Mando kills them, which, they fucking deserve. Especially that guy. Anyway, you can't see what I'm aiming at, but especially this guy. That guy is king idiot. At least this guy could argue that he was looking in his direction. The other guy has no fucking excuse. Anyway, moving on. So Mando opens up the cell, and what does he find? One Moff Gideon with the Darksaber right over Grogu's head, Baby Yoda's head. And so what follows here is a very bizarre conversation. Now, Gideon, well, Gideon wants to tell Mando something. Basically, Gideon starts by saying, "Assume I know everything," and then he gives Mando a totally, and I mean completely reasonable deal, which was completely unnecessary. Like the deal that Gideon wants to offer Mando basically is, all right, you take the kid and you get off my ship and we go our separate ways. That's the deal. It is a completely and totally reasonable deal if you want to survive, I guess. Is it necessary? No. Gideon did not have to go with Baby Yoda. Like he did not have to go. If he wanted, if he's like, I can take the kid. I already got what I needed from him. I already got the blood that I needed from him. So why didn't he just leave? I'm assuming there's an escape pod. Now, you could argue that there's a bunch of data on that ship that he doesn't want to let go of and stuff like that. Fine. But the only thing that he asked for is go separate ways. So it makes no sense. It was completely unnecessary. And so, what happens next is that Mando's like, that's what the fuck's happening here? This is a really bizarre conversation. For some reason, Gideon starts talking about the Darksaber and how it wields power, and whoever wields it has a claim to the throne of Mandalore, blah, blah, blah. And so then Mando's like, all right, whatever, man. Just give me the kid. And he's like, all right, fine. You take him, and we'll go our separate ways. So as Mando's about to take the kid, as expected, Gideon, just goes in, launches his surprise, bitch, and attacks him in the back. Now, again, this all is very weird because Gideon hits him in the jetpack. He hits him on Beskar. Now, we assume that at this point, Gideon should know that Beskar can, that Beskar resists the hits from lightsabers. We assume he must know that because he's fought with Mandalorians before, and he has the Darksaber. So we're assuming that he knows that at least. Attacking him where there's Beskar makes no sense until in a few minutes. Gideon's plan makes sense a little bit in a few minutes, but it's kind of flimsy, but I'll get into it. So basically, hits him where he knows that he's not going to die, which leads to a fight. And again, check out this hallway. All right, check out this hallway. You can see it. It's one way in, one way out. It's a long hallway. It's a lot of space. And check out these two dumbasses that got killed. Look at the hallway. Look at the dumbasses that got killed. Look at the hallway. Look at the dumbasses that got killed. Makes no fucking sense. Terrible, but whatever. Like honestly, I'm happy those two are dead. I'm happy that they're dead. Moving on. This leads to one of the choreograph was not terrible. The choreography here was not terrible. It was fine. I have issues with how he uses his spear to fight. Let's just say I don't agree with it. But there's one thing that really bothered me about this fight, and it was terribly edited at first. And I mean terribly edited. I don't know what the fuck happened here, but somebody did a terrible fucking job, and I'll show you very quickly. The sound, if you're watching it at first watch, you notice something weird, but the sound kind of saves it. Once I watched it again, it's like, no, this is somebody fucked up big time. So, and I'll show you. I'm gonna show you back-to-back clips. All right. So this shot, you can see Mando very clearly with his right arm. He's swinging up, down, like he's using a spear to swinging it from up to down with his right arm towards Gideon, and Gideon is about to block with a Darksaber. So again, right arm up is up, going down. The very next shot, and I mean immediately, the very next cut is Mando with the spear in his left arm, and the spear is down, which makes no fucking sense. And then like this scene, they do a little bit more hits in this shot. The shot ends with Mando very clearly in a very specific position blocking the upcoming hit from Gideon. So Gideon is doing kind of like, let's say, a baseball swing. Mando with the spear in his left arm, he puts it up, like he brings the spear up and he's blocking down, and he's kind of bracing with his other arm, which honestly it's not a bad technique there. But he's bracing himself for a hit. Again, left arm up, spear pointing down, and right arm bracing the spear. That's how that shot ends. The next shot immediately after this looks like this. Mando holding the spear with both hands down, blocking Gideon's hit. It honestly, it's terrible. It was, whoever did this is terrible. The sound guy did an amazing job trying to like cover for it, and almost works. Like I said, it was. I noticed something a little bit weird at first, but it's so fast you barely notice it, and the sound really covered it up. So all right, so there you go. The point is, it was terribly edited. Then this is where choreography gets a little bit weird, but it's just stuff that annoys me. Like you see Mando here, he's blocking a hit from the Darksaber. So Gideon is hitting him with the lightsaber, well, with the Darksaber. Both hands on the Darksaber swing from up to down, and the hit gets blocked by Mando with his left arm. So Mando has the left arm up, blocking the hit from Gideon. Gideon has both hands on the Darksaber. Now, if you look here at Mando, maybe you can't see in this image, so it might be a little bit dark, but Mando, blocking with his left arm, has the spear in his right arm. You know what that means? If I'm blocking somebody up here and my right hand has a spear and it's free, and the other guy has two hands on his weapon, all you have to do is just turn the spear towards him and thrust, and he's dead. Right? I mean, depends on where you hit him. Like if you don't want to kill him, you could have stabbed his leg, arm, whatever, just to the side. The point is he could have stabbed him, but he doesn't. He's just there holding on to, bracing the hit and not doing anything. Whatever. Point is, terrible choreography, but I guess they wanted to make the fight last a little bit longer. Ultimately, Mando ends up winning the fight. He makes Gideon submit, and then Gideon says something that's very weird. He says, "You're sparing my life? This should be interesting." So, I mean, I had a theory of Gideon's plan here, and that line kind of ruins it, but I'm going to assume that, let's just say that he's being cheeky. I'm going to say that Gideon is being cheeky there, because it kind of, otherwise, his plan doesn't make any sense, because his entire plan is based on Mando not killing him. Like, his whole plan rests solely on Mando not killing him, which, at this point, you assume that he kind of knows Mando, and he knows who he's there with, so he probably knows that they told him, Mando, not to kill him. So, all right, it's a gamble. I'll give you that. But Gideon has proven to be kind of like a what's it called? It's not ego. It's another word. What's this in? Anyway, I'll remember the word eventually. But yeah, but let's just say the dude's a bit cocky. Anyway, moving on. Hubris. The dude suffers from a little bit of hubris. Anyway. Next, Bo-Katan's pissed because she's like, "Man, I missed Gideon. That son of a bitch. She got away from me yet again." And then Mando walks in with Gideon, and she's like, "Oh, motherfucker." So Mando walks in with Gideon and the Darksaber at hand, and Bo-Katan is like, "What the fuck is this?" So then Gideon explains the whole situation, and he's really giddy about this. Honestly, like, Gideon is very giddy. I like that. That's fun. Anyway. Basically, he explains that. Let me see if I can break this down, because it's kind of a weird thing, but fine. Basically, you can only take whoever claims the Darksaber can claim the throne of Mandalore, right? We know that so far. However, the only way that you can claim the Darksaber is if you defeat the previous wielder of the previous wielder of the Darksaber. So basically, Gideon is like, "Uh-oh, what do we have here? Looks like you two are gonna have to fight." And honestly, he's kind of a bit too giddy about it, and it's hysterical. But Mando's like, "Well, this is stupid. Here, just take the Darksaber. I give it to you. You can be the next one." And Gideon's like, "Nah, no, because the rules matter. If you take that thing, you'll just be a pretender, and it doesn't count. You gotta fight." And then Mando's like, "This is stupid. Like, this rule's stupid. Just take the stupid weapon." Gideon's still like, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Oh, man, I love that guy. And so Cara Dune's like, "Oh, no, he's actually right." And then the alarm starts blaring, and it turns out that the Dark Troopers are somehow coming back into the ship. Now, I know what you're thinking. The Dark Troopers... They were sucked out into space. How could they survive? Well, they're artificial beings, and we know they had jetpacks. Like, we know that they have like some kind of like propulsion mechanisms. So whoever did not think of closing the fucking door is an idiot. Honestly, like, if your plan was based off of sucking out like massively powerful killer robots out into space, and then not thinking about closing the door behind them, you're an idiot. Anyway, the point is, these dudes are idiots. And now here's where I get to explain a little bit of Gideon's plan. Like, it looks like, from where I'm standing, Gideon knew that they were going to take the ship. However, he did not want them to take the ship. Why? Because the ship probably has information. He probably already has all his passwords in there. He probably already has all his stuff, so he didn't really want to evacuate. And the ship probably has all the command codes to the Dark Troopers. So, Gideon probably thought, I need to stall for time. If these dudes sucked out the Dark Troopers out into space, it's only a matter of time before they come back in. So I need to stall for time. So instead of fighting Bo-Katan up here in the command center, I'm gonna go down to the prison, well, to the locking bay or whatever, and I'm going to have a conversation with Mando. Then I'm gonna have a fight with Mando in which I specifically don't kill him. Like, and now the shot to the jetpack makes a little bit of sense. It's like he specifically did not want to kill him, so he has the fight. And he loses. So now Mando controls the Darksaber. And so now, when Mando tries to give the Darksaber to Bo-Katan, this will cause a fight between them. All of this is stalling for time. It makes sense, I guess. Honestly, it seems like a solid plan. Except, it completely and 100% depended on Mando not killing him. So, there you go. I guess that was his plan. It's not a terrible plan. It's risky. Risky. Anyway, that leads to an extremely interesting situation, and honestly, I was like, oh shit, this is gonna be great, this is gonna be awesome, like, this is going to be, like, if this is how they're gonna close out the season, between a fight between Bo-Katan and Mando, this is gonna be great. But then, the Dark Troopers start coming in, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be bullshit, man. It's gonna be like, somehow Mando's gonna save Bo-Katan, and Bo-Katan's gonna be like, all right, fine, you can keep it, or something stupid. So you're already starting to get worried, but you're like, all right, fine, at least the Dark Troopers are gonna do something. So the Dark Troopers come back in, and while everybody's distracted looking at the Dark Troopers come in, Gideon hides a weapon. He finds a blaster on the floor, and he kind of hides it. And Mando puts Baby Yoda to the side. The Dark Troopers make it all the way to the command center doors, which are closed. I just want to point out that they're closed, because that's what you do with a command center when you're under attack. You close the doors, but whatever. They start trying to beat the doors down, and they're being kind of successful about it. They're really putting some major damage on those doors, and so everybody's bracing for the doors to be open. Now, I know what you're thinking. We already know the blasters don't work against these guys, so why isn't somebody out there, ready with, like, the spear? Why didn't they have the doors, like, a little bit open, and then they could just hit them with the spear a little bit? It could be a strategy. It's because they're idiots, and because also they already had something else planned, but whatever. And then, all of a sudden, the alarms start blaring within the ship, and we see a lone X-Wing come into the airspace. And here's where nothing else in the episode matters. To be honest, nothing else matters after this point, because here's where, as a fan, you start getting very, very excited. Because, throughout the season, they did establish that there's X-Wings in this particular part of space, this particular part of the galaxy. We already saw a couple of dudes that made several appearances throughout several episodes. But this X-Wing is by itself. It's really weird. And then Cara Dune says, like, what the hell, one X-Wing? What the hell is that guy gonna do? And then the X-Wing lands. Very, very calmly, it lands. And then Baby Yoda starts reacting. And he's like, oh, what the hell is this? What is this that I sense? And then this Dark Trooper stopped fighting. And then we see through the cameras, we see a hooded being, a hooded human start walking, well, a humanoid figure, walk through, like the hall. It's not a hall, through the hallways of the ship. And it's a very slow buildup. It's a series of moments where you're like, could it be? No. Could it? Wait, no. And then you're like, okay, yes, all right, it's a Jedi. All right, it's a Jedi. It's so well done here, honestly, because it's a very slow reveal. It's little by little. First, it's an X-Wing, then it's a hooded being, and then you see the confirmation that it's a dude with a lightsaber. So it's a Jedi. And then you see that the lightsaber's green. So you're like, oh my god. And so then, by the way, the fighting is awesome. What this dude does with the lightsaber is freaking awesome. Then Gideon is like, oh shit, my plan's fucked. My plan did not consider a Jedi showing out of fucking nowhere. And so Gideon uses grabs the blaster that he found on the floor, blasts the hell out of Bo-Katan, and then he aims the weapon at Baby Yoda. Fortunately, Mando manages to jump in front of Baby Yoda just in time, saving his life. And Cara Dune, and then turns the gun on himself, to kill himself. Cara Dune, fortunately, is able to stop him and knocks the dude out, right? So he stops him from killing himself, knocks him out. Which honestly, I get it. I get it. It's just you guys ever see the Count of Monte Cristo? In the Count of Monte Cristo, we learned something very important, and that's if you only have one shot left, you try to put it where it's going to make the most damage. That's actually that's interesting. So I totally understand him shooting Baby Yoda, but I don't understand why he shot Bo-Katan first. It makes no sense. He shot somebody wearing armor on the armor instead of shooting the kid. Like if you're gonna shoot somebody to cause damage and hurt everybody in that room, you would have shot him first. Like I would have even understood if he would have shot some of the screens or whatever on the ship to, I don't know, to destroy data, to block something. I don't know. I would have understood shooting something like a computer and then Baby Yoda, or himself, or Baby Yoda and then himself. But shooting Bo-Katan made no sense. And I get it. They needed to do something which which got their attention that he had a gun, so they would have time to say Baby Yoda. I get it. I just would have done it differently. Anyway, so we go back to the Jedi out here fighting. We still don't know who it is, and it's as a fan, you're like, could it be Cal? Could it be Ezra? You start to think of like all the Jedi who are out there who use the green lightsaber. What the hell's going on? But you're hoping that X-wing that came in there. You're like, could it be? Could it actually be? Could it actually be the man, the myth, the legend? Is this actually happening? Then Baby Yoda starts reacting a little bit more to the screen. He's like, "Oh my God, friend!" And and then we get to see and even we get an even better look at the Jedi fighting, and we see, what is this? This dude has a glove in his right hand. So we only see his left hand, we don't see his right hand. And we get a pretty good look at the right hand, or the glove right hand, because he crushes a dark trooper with the Force. Like, this dude's just flexing. Whoever just walked in is just flexing with his gloved hand. And who do we know that flies that X-wing? Who do we know that has a green lightsaber? Who do we know that gloves his right hand? And so you're hoping against hope. A part of you is like, it's impossible. It can't be. It can't be. No, they wouldn't do this. They couldn't do this. They don't have the balls to do this. It would completely fuck everything up. And so Mando, after seeing Baby Yoda being like, "Hey, that dude's cool. We should talk to him." Mando decides to open up the door, and everybody's like, "Are you fucking crazy? A Jedi's out there. Most of us are fucking criminals." Mando doesn't give a fuck. He opens up the door, and the Jedi walks in the room, and he takes off the hood, and it's Luke fucking Skywalker, the man, the myth, the legend, the dude who started the whole saga, the main character of the entire saga. You could argue, at least, the good trilogy. And everybody lost their fucking minds at this moment. Like I said, nothing mattered after. At the moment the X-wing showed up, nothing mattered, and it culminated at this moment, and you just can't believe it. Like, honest, I could not believe that Disney had the balls to put Luke Skywalker in there. I thought the way that they're setting this up is that they're going to have all these characters have these adventures in the outer rims, like the places that nobody cares. And they did kind of set it up like in the core planets, where Coruscant and all that stuff is. That's where the heroes of the number movies were having all their adventures. So I figured there's no way there's gonna be a crossover. But no, Luke fucking Skywalker has made an appearance, and this changes everything. It's in a way, it looks like they're kind of retconning the new trilogy, which is fucking fantastic. Anyway. So basically, Luke Skywalker shows up, and Mando asks maybe the dumbest question ever, and like, "Are you a Jedi?" I mean, I love the guy, but he's kind of a dumbass. Like, I get it. He doesn't really know who a Jedi is, except he's met one. He saw that stuff. The other people in the room confirmed that's a Jedi, and he still asked the dumbest question ever: "Are you a Jedi?" I love him. He's such a dumbass. Anyway, Grogu looks like he might not be wanting to go with Luke, and Luke is like, no, no, no. He wants your permission. And he actually throws a little bit of shade to the new trilogy because he says basically talent without training is nothing, which is it is a direct shot at Rey, because Rey had no fucking training, a lot of talent, but no fucking training, and still she did a whole bunch of shit. But anyway, that's a topic for a different time. And so I'll come back to look to all this stuff in a little bit. But Mando gives his permission, says his goodbyes, and Baby Yoda's kind of like, trying to touch his face. So Mando takes off his helmet and sees him, face to face, flesh to flesh for the very first time, which is a very, very, very important moment. It gets you right in the feels. It's a very emotional moment. Grogu, like, actually, you can see him. They're looking at each other eye to eye for the very first time. He's studying his face. He's fascinated. And then we get another massive cameo with R2-D2 showing up. And so Luke picks up Baby Yoda, and he's like, basically, I'll take care of him. We'll see you later, dudes. And drops a "May the Force be with you," and walks out of there, right? And so obviously Mando is kind of like just standing there, like heartbroken, like seeing his kid walk away, like, my child, I love him, and I have to let him go. And he's very emotional. We actually get to see him express the emotions. We actually get to see his face, and then that's the last, probably maybe the last time we see Baby Yoda, and walks away from the story for maybe forever. And that's how season 2 of The Mandalorian ends. However, we did get an extra scene. This is actually not The Mandalorian, but all right, whatever. We got an extra scene at the end. We are in Tatooine. We get to see the 2 sons of Tatooine, and we get to see Jabba's palace. If you guys saw The Last Jedi, you might remember Jabba's palace. Jabba, basically, mob boss, kingpin, criminal, underworld kingpin, whatever. And, but however, Jabba is dead. Jabba got killed at the start of Return of the Jedi, so the person who's now running Jabba's palace is one Bib Fortuna, who got really fat. And you know what? Good for him. Honestly, good for him that Bib Fortuna has been running the criminal enterprise. However, they get interrupted by Finnick, who comes in and starts blasting people. And then Boba Fett comes in and he blasts Bib Fortuna. And yeah, he kills Bib Fortuna. Sits on Jabba's throne. And that's when we get the announcement that the Book of Boba Fett will be streaming on Disney Plus on December 2021. So it's the official spin-off of the show. So that is it. That's how the episode ended. Let's move on to The Good, the Bad, and the Mandalorian.
I like those odds.
Right, I may have fucked up a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean like a lot. I think it was, what is it here? What am I doing? Is it here? There you go. All right, so I fucked that up. We're moving on to The Good, the Bad. Like I said, I'm really out of practice, guys. Anyway, so we're moving on to The Good, the Bad, and the Mandalorian. The Good, the Bad, and the Mandalorian. I break down the things that I like from the episode. Break down the things in the bad. I break down the things that I didn't like. And in the Mandalorian, I'll share a fun fact. In this episode, particularly, I'm not going to talk about fun facts. I will be kind of talking about the questions that are still left open for the next season and for the Book of Boba Fett. So there you go. Let's begin with the good. So let me make this big here. So the good, obviously, everything that had to do with Luke Skywalker was great. It was great. The way that this was, I would have handled this episode differently. I would have made it bigger, personally. But if they would have given me the option and the money, I would have done it differently. But I get it. CGI is expensive. I would have made it like a bigger space battle. I would have actually put in the space, like the Republic fighters in there. And that way, it could have masked Luke a little bit more. I get why they didn't do that, because it would have been more expensive. And they wanted to save all the money for Luke Skywalker and the fight that he had with the Dark Troopers. And you know what? Fine. Acceptable. Like I said, it was a very, very slow reveal. It was little by little. Lone X-Wing. Hooded dude. Lightsaber that we get to see black and white. Lightsaber in green. Then we get to see the gloved hand. And then until finally the big reveal. I did not believe that they were gonna do this. Like I said, this is retconning the number movies, the final trilogy, because well, we see Luke Skywalker leaving with Baby Yoda, which means that either Kylo Ren killed Baby Yoda, or they're completely changing Luke's story. And honestly, it was great to see Luke fight. Like, if you think about it, since Return of the Jedi, we didn't see Luke fight at all. In the new trilogies, Luke doesn't fight with a lightsaber. He has the weird force thing where he's just basically dodging Kylo Ren and he's not even there to begin with because he's just a ghost. But we hadn't seen Luke Skywalker fight. And Luke Skywalker, according to the lore, according to the expanded universe, he does grow to become the most powerful Jedi of all time. That's his destiny. Based off of his accomplishments on the extended universe, he does become the most powerful Jedi of all time. So seeing him in action, seeing him flex, and just destroy a Dark Trooper with the Force alone was fucking phenomenal. It was great. Dude didn't even break a sweat, and he took down a platoon of Dark Troopers. It was phenomenal. It was great. Finally, we got a little bit of a, like, the ending like a little bit of not the ending that he deserved, but he, like, the respect that he deserved as a Jedi. It's kind of similar to the scene on Rogue One where you see Darth Vader at the end taking out all the dudes, and you're like, oh shit, this is how terrifying Darth Vader is. We actually get to see Darth Vader be terrifying. Well, here we get to see Luke Skywalker be a badass, and it was great. Like I said, everything with Luke was fantastic. I would have liked him maybe interacting a little bit more with the other characters, but all right, I understand it. CGI is expensive. they can't do too much. Like, honestly, to me, it was weird that he didn't react and be like, why are there like 3 Mandalorians? Huh, weird. Something. But this is different Luke. This is a Jedi Luke. He's a lot more mature, a lot more controlled. Fine. Honestly, a million billion times better than the one in The Last Jedi where he's kind of like a crazy person. Here you see him calm, collected, mature, powerful. It was great. Like, honestly, everything that had to do with Luke was fucking phenomenal. The best part is that I did not believe they would do it. And also now there's rumors that there might be a Luke Skywalker spin-off series, which would be great. Even if it's just an animated series, I would watch it. I would love it. There's so much material for that character in the expanded universe that hasn't been exploited. They've already introduced what's the name? Admiral Sarn? I forget his name. Sarn? Yeah, they introduced him. He has a lot of, Luke Skywalker has a lot of adventures related to that guy. Commander Sarn? I don't know. Doesn't matter right now. It doesn't matter. Sarn? This is gonna bug me. I'm bad with names. So a Luke Skywalker show makes total sense, and it would be the only way that we actually would get to see Baby Yoda again. Which honestly, I don't care about Baby Yoda that much. If he's out, that means that Mando doesn't have that major weakness anymore. So the show will change dramatically. But we'll see. Next, I like Moff Gideon's plan. And him being giddy about it, like, you can't do it. Nah, the roles don't allow you. You can't do it that way. So, like I said, his plan it took balls. It took balls to base a plan solely off of not getting killed by a bounty hunter. But it was working out. It's just nobody really saw Luke Skywalker coming. And by nobody, I mean nobody. Nobody expected it to happen. Not this guy. Like, honestly, when there was the episode where Baby Yoda's calling out, to the universe, to the Force, and we're seeing, and a Jedi might respond. Out of all the options of all the Jedis that may or may not be alive in that particular point in time, I had Luke almost at the bottom. Like I said, this move required such gigantic balls, steel ball, Beskar balls. I did not expect they would do it, but they did, because it's basically saying we fucked up with the new trilogy, which honestly respect. I respect that they're actually doing it, but whatever. Let's move on. I really liked the music in this episode, and specifically the music for the Dark Troopers. If you throughout the episode, the music's great. Honestly, this is the music for the entire series has been great, but in this episode particularly, the music really stood out to me, particularly with the Dark Troopers. And I usually talk about music and stuff like that. In this series, I really haven't done it until now, because that's how good the music was, for at least for me. I really enjoyed it. Next, the goodbye between Baby Yoda and Pedro Pascal was just great. Pedro Pascal, he's an amazing actor. He's really so good that even with the mask, you can actually kind of tell what he's thinking or what his emotions sometimes. That was a very beautiful moment. It was like, it feels, oh my god, like the culmination. Like, I remember this dude. This dude was heartless in the beginning of the series. He had no remorse, no feelings whatsoever. He was just like, fuck you. I'm gonna freeze you. I don't want to talk to you. And here you see him, well, relinquish being a Mandalorian, basically. Like, you need to remember, back in, what was it, chapter 4? Was it episode 4? Sanctuary, the one where Cara Dune first shows up. Mando explains that, let me see if I can find the exact quote. If a Mandalorian takes off his helmet, he can never put it on. He can never put it on again if he takes it off in public. Here he's saying, I don't care about being a Mandalorian as much as I care about you. That's what he's saying. It's a very important moment. It's a very beautiful moment, and it may change dramatically how the series works from now on. We'll see. And finally, Boba Fett getting his own show. It's just great. It explains a few things, but I'll save this. I'll save this a little bit more for the end. Now let's move on to the bad. So, I already complained about the bad editing and the choreography during fights. Not a big deal. We already complained about, the bad strategy when you're fighting, and I already complained about the stormtroopers being idiots. Whatever, it's part of the show. Now, there's some things that I really bothered me in this episode. Because, like I said, those are the three things that are really, bad about this particular episode. And there's things that are bad, but it's not this episode's fault. It's the fault of previous episodes. So let's begin with the Dark Troopers. The Dark Troopers in this episode are fine. The only problem is that they weren't set up as bigger threats in a previous episode. Like I said, in the episode they actually first show up, they should have completely and totally whooped Mando's ass. Like, they should have just annihilated the guy and shown that there's such a big, massive threat. That's what was missing here. Like I said, in wrestling, the heel can't lose the first fight. The heel has to dominate, and that way the baby face or the good guy is, he's now you feel like, oh my god, could he actually take the bad guy on? What's gonna happen? So the bad guy needs to win the first fight, and he needs to win it convincingly. They never did that in the season. What they did with the Dark Troopers is they flew in, they grabbed Baby Yoda, and they flew out. That's not good enough. They actually had to fight. And so in the fight, you see, holy shit, they're massively overpowered. There's no way Mando can take them on. And so you build them up as a scary villain. They were scary enough in this episode. It was. They had their moments, and you're like, oh my god, what are they gonna do? It's just, like I said, it's a missed opportunity more than anything else, because they could have made this way better. Them handling that better in the previous episode would have made this episode way better, way more tense, way more terrifying. The other thing, and this really grinds my gears, is Mando taking his helmet off. Now, like I said, what are you saying, Dario? You just said that him taking off the helmet and what it symbolizes was a great thing. Yes, in this episode, fantastic. The problem was that Mando took his helmet off in the previous episode. You guys remember how I was complaining that it looked like the plot forced him to do it? They basically forced him. One with Bill Burr, like, this machine won't answer you unless they can see a face. Like, the previous episode went out of its way to make Mando take off his helmet, right? And in front of people. That episode completely took away from this moment. Like, this beautiful moment where he gives up, being a Mandalorian, or essentially, because now he's with a group of Mandalorians who take off their helmets, so he might actually be learning, like, hey, maybe it's not that big of a deal. Maybe I don't have to be such a religious zealot. Maybe. I don't know. Like I said, we'll see in the future. But that completely took away from it, because we just saw it. We just saw him do it in the previous episode. If in the previous episode, the plot would have been forcing Mando to take off his helmet, and Mando refuses to take it off, like, even if everything's gonna go to shit, and he's gonna get caught, he refused to take off the helmet. This moment would have been much more significant. This moment would have had so much more weight, because it's like, before, they couldn't force me to do it. I refused to do it. I refused to give up essentially my honor and my religion. But here, I did it for love. Like, I'm willing to do it for love, and that infuriates me. It infuriates me because the previous episode felt so forced, and it completely ruined it for this one. Completely and totally ruined it for this one. So that was really bad. Again, there's nothing wrong with this episode, particularly him taking the clamlet off. Like I said, it was great. It's the previous episode that pisses me off, and that's just bad writing, bad directing, and Jon Favreau should not have let it happen. Like, he's the producer here. He should not have let that happen. Anybody who understands storytelling should have understood that. Oh yeah, if he does it in the episode before, it's gonna lose all the weight for this one. So it's just, these people get paid a lot of money, by the way. It's infuriating that they could be this fucking stupid. Anyway, moving on. Let's move on to The Mandalorian. Here, like I said, I usually tend to give you like a little bit of like fun facts about characters or plots or stuff like that, or things from the universe. But in this particular episode, I'm not going to do that. It's season finale, so let's talk about the things that were left unanswered. So, the big thing for The Mandalorian is what the fuck is going to happen with Bo-Katan. That is the biggie here. That is the thing that was left unanswered. Mando is the wielder of the Darksaber. The person who wields the Darksaber has a claim to the throne of Mandalore. Bo-Katan's plan, or her objective, is to recapture Mandalore. She's trying to get people to do it. She's trying to get weapons to do it. And she wants to recover the Darksaber specifically for this purpose. So her purpose is to recapture Mandalore. She even tried to recruit Mando to try to recapture Mandalore. However, now things are kind of like in trouble, because now Mando is the one who has the rightful claim to the throne, because he's the one that has the rightful claim to the sword. Now, there's an easy solution to this, and that's probably Bo-Katan challenging Mando to a fight and winning. The thing is, can she actually win this fight? I don't think she knows if she can. I don't think she's confident that she can win it. She probably can. She is a badass in her own right. And honestly, if she loses that fight, it's like, all right, you should submit, because you're acknowledging that, all right, I can't beat you, so you have the rightful claim to the throne. So that interaction should be very interesting for next season. And like I said, and I complained about this throughout the season, I was very much annoyed that Mando had such a big glaring weakness, which is the child, Grogu. It was really annoying to me. Now, Mando has no such weakness. Mando has no such plans. So he said that he'd consider helping Bo-Katan, but now what the hell is going to happen? He has the claim to the throne. There's a lot of, like I said, this thing needs to be resolved kind of quickly, and it should be great. Like, dude, if they did an episode where it's just a fight between Bo-Katan and Mando, that'd be fucking phenomenal. Like, the rest of the Mandalorians that are still alive, they show up, and the whole episode is just those two fighting, or the build up to that fight and them fighting. That'd be phenomenal. Like, that is a season opener I like to see. However, I mean, they probably have a plan for the season. They probably have something that they're going to do. We'll see how it goes. Point is, I think it could be exciting. And the thing is, they don't really have to kill each other. I mean, Mando defeated Gideon and he didn't kill him. So it could just be like, submit. Whoever wins this fight wins this fight. Whatever. So that could be fun. And now let's talk about the Book of Boba Fett. So, Book of Boba Fett opens up a lot of really interesting opportunities, particularly in the expanded universe. Now, there's a lot of questions that I've had about Boba Fett in The Mandalorian that weren't answered. I were hoping they were going to get answered. They weren't getting answered, and really annoyed me, and now I understand why. Like, for example, I thought that Boba Fett was going to say how he lost his armor, and then he didn't, and it really annoyed me. Like, it really annoyed me that we don't know how Boba Fett lost his armor. It makes no sense. How did the Marshal end up getting it? We don't know. And by that I mean, what's the name of the dude from it's not from Deadwood. What is his name? Timothy Olyphant. How did Timothy Olyphant's character end up getting the armor? We don't know. It really annoys me. How did he survive the Sarlacc pit? Where has he been all this time? Where did he find out that Mando had it? Where did he find out that the sheriff had it? And why did he just take the armor? There's a whole bunch of questions there that were never answered, and it was really annoying me, because it's like, man, Boba Fett is right there. How about we have an interesting conversation with him? Now it makes sense, because now Boba Fett's going to get his own show. So hopefully they'll answer those questions. The big one is, big questions. How did you get out of the Sarlacc pit? What have you been doing all this time? How did you lose your armor? Why didn't you retake your armor if you know who had it? Why did you help out Mando? Now, the thing about him helping Mando really makes no sense, because he's like, I'll help you. He's, what is it? I'll guarantee your safety, or the child's safety, if you give me back my armor. And then he's like, well, they took the kid and I said I'd guarantee his safety, so I'm going to keep doing it. My speculation there, like, if I have to speculate why the hell Boba Fett was helping out Mando, it wasn't out of the kindness of his heart. I think it's because, let's say, the Empire was backing the Hutts, or Bib Fortuna here, and so Boba Fett knew, or at least Gideon's faction of the Empire was backing Bib Fortuna. So Boba Fett knew, if we take Gideon out, and this guy wants to take Gideon out, so if I help him take Gideon out, that means that the protection that Bib Fortuna had is gone. So I'll be able to take him out. So that's my guess as to why Boba Fett helped Mando. We'll find out when the show starts. But there's a lot of exciting opportunities there with the underworld of Star Wars, which is a very interesting world. Like, they explored a little bit in Clone Wars and Rebels and all that stuff. The expanded universe has a lot of very rich, very interesting characters in the Star Wars underworld. I highly recommend you check it out, and probably I'll save those fun facts for when that show starts. But could be interesting, honestly. Boba Fett starting to take over the underworld could be fun. Then afterwards, is he going to start clashing with other characters? Will they ally themselves? Will he just become the king of Tatooine? Will he become the king of the underworld? Will that lead into conflicts with the newly formed Mandalore Empire? Will that lead to conflicts with Mando? Will it be like the leader of the Hutts now? Well, technically, the leader of the underworld, Boba Fett, versus the leader of the Mandalorians, Mando? Who knows? Could be a lot of fun. We'll see. It's interesting. Honestly, it leads for a lot of really fun opportunities. I'm excited to see it. I'm very happy that they're expanding this universe. And if they add a Luke Skywalker TV show, that would be just like everything. That would be everything. But I believe that's it for today. That's a good place to stop. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Hopefully you enjoyed the season as much as I did. It was great. One of the better seasons. One of the better seasons of one of the newer shows. I really enjoyed it. As always, any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can find me at Dario the Show on Instagram and at Super Dario World. Live streaming on YouTube and on Twitch at Super Dario World. If you want to see this video on YouTube, it'll load itself probably, I don't know, by tomorrow morning. I don't know. This one went long, over an hour. So it probably will be there up to tomorrow morning. If you want to see visuals and all that stuff, it really helps people follow along. That's it. Yeah, that's it for today. As always, thank you for listening, and I'll see you again next time.